Okay, game 5 here, and this board was a bit tricky for me to navigate. I wasn't sure quite what to do here, so on it, um, there's things. That pretty much sums up my thought process for the beginning of this game. I tried to find maybe a pile for the arc. I wasn't quite sure what to do there. There is trashing, at least there's trashing, right? There's nobles for cards and actions, which might be useful at some point. But it seems like you want to trash. That's usually what you want to do in Dominion when you can. So my opponent opens with the Doctor overpay by 2. That's pretty nice for him there. Opening 5-2 with our Doctor on the board. So here I have a couple options in terms of how I want to trash. So I could go Scheme Temple, is what I was thinking. Alternatively, I could go Temple, not Temple, Doctor, right now, but just overpay by 1. I do like the idea of schemes, so I will pick up some more schemes in the early turns here. Because I think it'll give my Doctor a better opportunity to clean things up. So my opponent has 3, goes for silver. I don't manage to hit an estate with the Doctor, which is kind of bad, but whatever, it's fine. And 3 here is going to be a scheme for me. So on this Doctor play here, I am going to name estate. It's actually quite difficult-ish. Not really, there's more copper than there is estate, but I am going to name estate still. Because I don't have a good reason. No, okay, so my reason at the time was if I have to name the estate so that I improve my money density. That's why. But I think I could still name copper here and be okay. In terms of money, I would still have $3, I believe, to get to a silver or something anyway. So as is, actually have $3 here, so I could have picked up the silver here. So maybe that was just a rank misplay by me, but that was my thought process. Probably was not the right thing to do. And I go for, I believe, silver at this point. I think a silver. My opponent has been pouring on the silver himself here. So he is sizing up to buy something. He's actually managed to buy a forum already, which is nice with the Doctor, right? You can 100% know what you're trashing if you're able to draw through everything, then play your forum. So that's pretty nice. And I'm gonna pick up a second scheme here. My opponent doesn't have any schemes yet. I like these schemes because I expect them to do good work for the game. I don't really sure what I want to do, but I don't know, there's Jester on the board. I like to play that a lot, especially as my opponent is getting thin. That seems to be a good thing to do. So, 5 for my opponent is going to be a treasury here. And actually, I would recommend that you look more closely at what he is doing than what I am doing here, right? So, at first, I don't know, the treasury didn't seem to be all that strong. I can see one treasury because my plan was to go for a bunch of nobles, but only after I had some groundskeepers in my deck so that I could get the additional points from my nobles, and then I would have kind of an engine thing going. Not really, I mean, nobles for actions, nobles for draw doesn't really draw cards, or does it? Does it? Draws 1. Wait, that's an engine. Why didn't I do this? Okay. Anyway, but the point is that's why I wanted to go, right? That's why I wanted to go in this deck. So I can understand the 1 treasury just to make sure you have money to purchase nobles because it costs a lot. 6 is a lot. And we are getting rid of money from our deck, so I pick up a second silver here, and I think that should be good to go for the nobles plan here. In the meantime, my opponent is going through with this forum business. Forum is a good card. A very good card. It's doing good work for my opponent here. So he has a bit of a think here, and I believe this is the turn where he opts to buy a Jester, which is a good card for both of us at this point. I think it's a little bit better for me, but it's not terrible for him in any way whatsoever. Nope, this is not the turn he buys the Jester. Second forum, and I believe next will be a Jester. So just making sure he can see everything through his deck. See, on his last turn he was unable to discard and trash with his Doctor, so I guess that's what he wants to try to set up. I actually have some decent Doctor luck at this point, and my deck is looking fairly thin. My opponent obviously had the lead from the first turn on the trashing, but I'm in a relatively decent position in terms of the trashing here because I suppose I got lucky with the doctors, or just named the correct things, or the scheme maybe helped with that. Not sure, not sure. So 5 for me is going to be a treasury just to try and stabilize the economy, sticking the doctor back. Or am I? Nope, sticking the scheme back this time. I think I just have the one copper and one estate in my deck from my original starting cards, so pretty good work done by the doctor. Now I wish I had the Templar, right, so I could clean that up and be getting chip points, but oh well, I went for the doctor instead, because if you use the scheme and temple way, right, ideally you get the scheme and the temple to collide, or you get the scheme first anyway, and you're able to get rid of everything from your deck, and you're nice and clean. It's a lot easier to use than the doctor, where you have to just divine what's on top of your deck sometimes. My opponent manages to clear most things from his deck. I think now he's also left with just a copper and an estate, so we're in the same position in terms of trashing, and he picks up a Jester now, something I also want to go after. I refrain from playing this scheme because I know that I have an estate in the back, I believe, that I would like to get rid of from my deck, especially with Jester flying around. I don't have a nice way to get rid of curses, so, and I also don't have a forum, so I'm like entirely dependent on the whims of my deck here. So I am just going to get rid of that estate. I don't play the scheme, but what can you do? I think that's still a reasonable thing to do at this point because my deck is fairly thin, fairly thin. Alright, so Jester's gonna come out here and hit a silver, and my opponent thinks for a while about this, and he eventually passes me the silver, which I'm not unhappy about actually. I'm not unhappy about the silver because it seems very difficult to string together some kind of engine here, which means you might want to play a more money style deck. And the silver is perfectly fine for that. Like, potentially you could go for some forums and some silvers and golds and just go to town on the provinces and hope to get more points than your opponent can in groundskeepers and temples and castles maybe. And the forums are good cards, right? They cycle a lot. You could probably see your big treasures more often. Well, definitely, but maybe often enough to close out the game. I'm not sure. So my Jester here misses, meaning I hit his estate and he gets a curse. I so badly wanted to copy a forum off this man. You have no idea how badly I wanted to copy a forum off of him. Because I need it. At this point I need it, right? Especially with his Jester flying around. Eventually he's going to hit like a Doctor or a Copper or something. That's just junk in my deck, and the forum could go past that very easily. 6 and 1 buy, that's the theme of this game, right? We just have one buy, so you have to be very, very careful and meticulous with what you buy here. I could go for the nobles, but I don't want to buy a nobles without a groundskeeper. It seems like not a good thing to do, so I'm going to pick up a groundskeeper here. Quite like picking up groundskeeper on this board. That drip VP is a big deal sometimes. So my opponent is up and running here, even with the curse that I put into his deck. He's going to play his treasuries and his Jester all the time, and he does have a couple cards always to discard to his forum. What he was doing actually with all these treasuries and whatnot, let's see if he gets there on this turn before I spoil everything. He junks me with a copper, which isn't great for me. I mean, he also doesn't get something out of it, which is cool too. Meaning he doesn't gain a treasury or something very easily, or a groundskeeper. That would be probably the worst thing. So he has 9, I believe, or 8, I think $9. Yeah, $9. Um, Again, you might be inclined to go for province at this point, or maybe even gold or something. But and like I said, it could work out for you, maybe, just because of the one buy thing holding back somebody who wants to go after the alternative victory points. But that is not the road my opponent is going down here. He's thinking quite long about this, and I think he decides on another treasury. Probably he was deciding between treasury and forum there. He eventually gets the treasury. Probably he has enough forums, I believe, in his deck. Here, I'm able to copy a treasury, which I'll gladly take. No problems taking that treasury. And at this point, I'm gonna cave and buy a forum, right? My Jester has not found me a forum, but you already know how things work in this game, right? As soon as I buy this forum, the next turn my Jester's gonna copy a forum, but that's fine, right? Having two forums is better than having one forum, so we all good. And here I put back the Groundskeeper again. I want to buy these nobles, so that's why I put back the Groundskeeper. And whatever I put back with the scheme, he can't copy with the Jester, so that is that's good too. I actually don't want him to copy my scheme. I'll be very bad if he copies my scheme because he doesn't have a scheme, and I don't think he's gonna stop to buy a scheme at this point. But if he copies one, that's a bad position for me because right now I have the stability with the scheme going on here. Meaning like I could top deck my forum every turn from here on out for a long time, and that's pretty good for me. His Jester junks me and he goes for a Groundskeeper, but not just a Groundskeeper. This is what he was doing with all those treasuries, right? I prefer to get the Groundskeeper over the treasuries because I was thinking, okay, I just want the drip VP, right? I have one buy, let me just, there you go, there's my forum. I just want to get these as quickly as possible. Forget treasury, that's not important. Wrong. What he was doing was working his way up to 10 money. 10 allows him to buy forum and another 5 cost, which in this case is Groundskeeper. So that does a couple of things. One, it gives him 2 piles that he could go after for his triumphal arc points, the forum and the Groundskeeper, for example, as well as treasury if he gets nice Jester hits like that one there, or from whatever he bought before. And it increases the stability of his deck, so he doesn't necessarily need the scheme if he has 100 forums in his deck. So I think my opponent played better than me in this game. He had a better idea of what he wanted to do and he executed. So now very consistently for the next few turns he's going to start picking up forum and Groundskeeper. Luckily I'm able to do the same because I bought a forum, copied one off of him, and now I'm doing the same, but I started a bit later than him. So he is going to end up with more forums than me, which means he has more potential for the arc at this point. He also has more treasuries, and I believe treasury is what might be his second most plentiful pile. We do end up with 5 Groundskeepers each, so maybe the Groundskeepers were his source of arc points, but I think he had the forum split at least 6 to 4, so he could have gone for treasuries, for example, to push his arc points up. I think I only have 2 treasuries, which means he has 4, right? So yeah, really treasury for him, or the next treasuries anyway, after the forums are finished, of course, will be 3 points as valuable points. Yeah. So again, just this is what is gonna happen until we finish out the Groundskeepers. I don't think any of us wants to start the break for green cards until we finish out the Groundskeepers. I think that is what we should be doing. Because if somebody starts to go for provinces, I don't know, like in my mind it's close if someone starts to go for provinces and the other person just continues along the Groundskeeper path. It does open up a lot more triumphal arc points for the Groundskeeper forum person as well, and a lot of drip VP when the groundskeeper person starts to buy, right? And he doesn't have to go after provinces. The castles are a fine pile. Not even castles, like duchies are a fine pile if you have 7 or 8 groundskeepers in your deck and are able to play them very consistently. And if you have 8 groundskeepers and you buy a estate that's like colony level points, and a colony is a lot more than a province. So yeah, there's not much to say here, right? He copies a forum off of me, so now he can't go and pick up forum something, right? So what he is gonna do is just pick up the groundskeeper, which is, a very consistent and in line with what we have both been doing for this portion of the game here. So 3 groundskeepers, he's gonna buy 1, leaving 2 in the pile. So at this point, you're gonna have to think about, well, what do I do after the groundskeepers? Alright, what do I do after the groundskeepers? So I'm probably going to buy the penultimate one, and he'll buy the last. And then what do we do? Well, my idea was to go for a ball at that point and pick up a humble castle, because groundskeeper works on gain, not just on buy, on gain. Pick up a humble castle. It's a touch of money, but I'll get a lot of drip VP from the groundskeepers. And I was actually thinking of picking up a temple alongside it. I think the temple is much more preferred in this deck than the doctor. I haven't played my doctor in ages. I haven't played it at all. Obviously, you prefer to play the jester here over the doctor. With the temple, I could get some VP and potentially trash some creases out of the deck. Make me a little bit thinner. That'll be nice. I have fewer forums. What is this? Only 3 forums I'm showing here? That's bad. That's bad. But the schemes are holding me. The schemes are holding me up, and will hold me up for a long, long time. I have to credit those schemes. It was just tremendous work schemes, and my opponent wasn't able to copy any of it for the entirety of the game. So that's real good news for me. If he was able to do that, I was probably GG. Like, even one scheme is so good for him. So here, what is going to happen is I expect him to buy the last groundskeeper, right? And then he'll pass the turn over to me, no extra buys. That is not what happens. He gains the last groundskeeper, which means he is going to get to do the ball play, right? So he also saw it, and he goes for the ball, goes for the humble castle and the crumbling castle. So he adds a little bit of economy into his deck, gets a VP of the crumbling castle, and a lot of drip, right? We have 5, and I think he was able to put all 5 groundskeepers into play there. So he raked in a lot of VP that turn. And he didn't really hurt his deck too much, right? The humble castle is like copper, meh, but still useful. And he also has a silver alongside his crumbling castle. So I actually only come up with 7 here, and I pick up on nobles, entertaining some thoughts of maybe using it as plus actions and being able to play both doctor and jester at some point. Hopefully the doctor could get a curse, but that's really like playing the lottery at this point, given the state of my deck. So here my opponent actually he has options, right? He can go for provinces if he likes, and I thought he would go for provinces, but he's not going to go for provinces. He actually ends up going after the castles instead. I'm not sure if there's more points in the castles or if it's just more useful, because like you could get a silver out of one of them, a gold out of one of them. I'm not sure why he opted to go for the castles. I feel like the provinces would be worth more overall, but I'm not entirely sure. Difficult decisions here with the forums, but that is gonna happen sometimes, right? Because I want to play both my nobles and my doctor, hopefully trying to trash some creases, right? If I could get just that much more thinner, it'll be a very helpful for me. I don't have the stack of forums my opponent has, but no such luck. I actually see 3 good cards on top of it, like real good cards. Curse for my opponent. Now that's a pile I have to watch out for too. Anyways, I pick up the spooky castle, I don't remember the name, but the scary one that attacks your opponent, and that is gonna hurt. 3 card hand, that's gonna hurt. Especially since my opponent bought the last castle, which means his treasuries are gone now. And I get a gold out of it too, so that's real good for me. However, his deck is still good enough, he's able to pick up the opulent castle. However, that opens up the sprawling castle for me, and I just checked to make sure which one it is. And it is the one that gives me, this is awful, like, why is my forum doing this to me? It is the one that gives me the option of picking up a duchy or 3 estates alongside it, and well, I'm 20 points in the back, so maybe it's worth it to go for the estates. And you know, if I don't pick it up, my opponent is just gonna pick it up, and that's way too much points for me to come back from. So I think forced into a position here where I have to take the sprawling castle and the 3 estates. I mean, I didn't have to take 3 estates, but I definitely have to take the castle. So I could take castle and duchy and not make my deck terrible, but I went for the estates purely as a points play there, and actually it puts me in the lead momentarily. So now there's, what is that? That's not kings, that's, I don't know, some grand castle or something. This is the one that's worth 5 victory points, and it gives you more victory points if you buy it and have green in your hand, which I doubt he'll be able to show much green in his hand if he does manage to buy it, just because of the forums discard and stuff. So he'll probably just get the face value of the grand castle. Now it's whether or not he wants to buy that, right? It's whether or not he wants to buy the grand castle, because it does open up a 3 pile, and maybe I could sneak something out. I have, like I said, the schemes, put the forums on top of my deck. I always threaten a half decent turn at least. At least. The reason I was saying earlier that curses are piled because ball exists, and what you could do is ball and just get 2 curses and win. Ball is your extra gain on this board. So here, let's see. I think my opponent does pick up the grand castle. He does pick up the but he picks it up using his small castle or something, the one that allows you to gain a castle for nothing, and makes this cheeky play. And I didn't realize how cheeky this was until the turn after. So he gained the grand castle off the gaining castle, right? He trashed his crumbling castle, so he still has the potential to use that gaining castle to get the last one, the kings. And he buys a ball to pick up 2 estates, so he's pushing for the 3 pile, right? He's pushing for the 3 pile, and I see it, fine. And it's a points play because he has lots of groundskeepers out and whatnot, so the 2 estates will give him the double drip or whatever, fine. But the reason why that's a cheeky play is because buying ball doesn't count as buying green cards, which means he has all his treasuries back on top of his deck. 4 treasuries back on top of his deck. That's 1 short of ball. Well, I guess because he bought the ball, he needs 6 points, right? I can take kings on that turn, but I won't win with it. I needed 4 groundskeepers and kings to tie. So I just take the province. He again makes the exact same play. Ball and 2 estates, and I can't do anything because he has the ball. I know he has the money to pick up the last estate, and that's the game. A nice sneaky rush out on the estates with the ball there from my opponent, but overall I think he played this one much better. He had a better idea of what he wanted to do in the game, and that is how it ends. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next game.